snowboard, baby. They're definitely better off trail back mounted. So far, much better. There's more speed of massage, more stable on the foot. I'm not losing my connection to the snow. It's a lot harder to overturn. So much pretty. Yeah, baby. Oh, there's a ski I can talk to. Woo! Now it's retro. Now it's a good ski.
Alright, welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name is Elliott and you're watching Rickety Ski Reviews. Today we're talking about the DPS Carbon Pisteworks 79. Quite the name for quite the ski. Now, this ski was provided to me by DPS. They sent it to me and I'm going to send it back. They did say that they're going to send me a pair once it goes into production so that I can test it against other stuff later, but there are only 4 pairs of these right now and DPS was nice enough to send me one of them. I rendezvoused with one of their guys and it happened all very quickly, but yeah, I was able to get on them, and then I had some family come into town and I was able to get them on snow really quickly actually. So this was kind of a surprise review. I've been talking with DPS about reviewing some of their other skis, but this one kind of popped up out of nowhere and I was happy to review it. Now, I don't know, I just tell you guys that stuff as full disclosure. I try to tell you guys when people send me skis and let me keep them. In this case, I'm not keeping this pair and I'm potentially keeping a pair in the future, but to be honest, I don't give that stuff too much weight. But I also want to disclose it to you guys so I can be transparent. So these are the skis I got. I'm sending them back. I'm supposed to be getting another pair later just so I can do future content, but we'll see. So full disclosure, take that with a grain of salt. Let's talk specs and build, and then we'll jump into first impressions. So I ski these in a 174. You can see quite a lot of camber here. These are very springy skis. These are 174, which is a little shorter than I typically ski. It's kind of in range, but at the lower range of what I would ski. These also have a very aggressive turn radius of 13.5 meters. This is DPS's like specific demo binding, which was kind of interesting. It's a different design where, you know, you take it and pop it rather than it sliding, but it worked fine enough. These have a 79 millimeter width underfoot. The construction, from talking to the guy when I did the drop off on these, is basically you've got your wood core wrapped around with 2 sheets of carbon on either side. These come in at 1,650 grams, so very light. They're also meant to be used with these DPS bindings. If I were to guess, it's because they're a little bit lifted and trying to give you a little bit more leverage for good carving. Now there's a few stats that are also very important. And the first one is that these were built in conjunction with Ted, although he's only been with DPS for a few months. My guess, and this hasn't been confirmed by DPS, my guess is that this platform has been in development for a while, and then he probably came along and helped them fine tune it for some of that carving feel. Also, full disclosure, for years I worked for Ted Ligity's camps, but that was decades ago now, and I've been critical of his ski goggles and other brands and some of the endorsements and interviews he's done. So I don't know, there is a history, I want to disclose it, but it doesn't really shape my feelings on the ski much. But again, I don't know, transparency is important. The pretty shocking number with these skis is for a 79 millimeter width ski, these retail at $1,995, and the bindings that they recommend you like pair with these skis range from $380 to $430 currently, just depending on what din size you get, bringing the total, if you get like a higher din, to $2,425. These are not cheap skis with the bindings, or without the bindings really. So these are lightweight skis, very short turn radius. If you are looking for a similar ski to compare this to, the first one that comes to mind for me is the Meier Core, which is kind of a similar turn radius. So just if you're looking for something kind of in that range, this is one of those short turn radius skis. Anyway, now that we've talked build, let's talk about the actual ski and how it felt on snow, because that's what's really important. So my first impression was, wow, this is definitely trying to go for that same feel as a Meier Core or a Black Rose Octo. It's going for those short radius skiers that want something really snappy and really performative. but it does a couple things different, which is nice. There's a nice little bit of variety here. The other thing I'll say, if you want my honest opinion, and God knows I might regret this, this might be the last time DPS ever sends me anything, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. Honesty to you guys is more important. My first impression of these was pretty negative. My first score that I gave these was a 6.5 when I skied them at factory recommended. It felt like a rough draft. They were too narrow. It made it hard to get a solid platform. I felt like I couldn't really connect with the snow well. They were fairly easy to overturn, where I could overpressure and then overtake the ski and have it kind of go over and feel wrong. Like I would load pressure and then I'd be over the top of it. So some of that could be that this is a 174, it's a little bit shorter. Oh, and like initially they were very unstable. I got a lot of side to side chatter. I can show you in the video. It felt like trying to ski on ice skates to a certain extent. Maybe not as extreme as that, but similar. There were some good things I liked, but all in all, I wasn't very happy with my first couple of runs on this ski. And then, you know, I wrote all this down. I even talked to Zach about it a little bit. And then I remembered, I was like, didn't I deal with this before where something didn't line up and didn't feel right? And I remembered reviewing Bodie Miller's Peak 104. And I thought, okay, if I'm gonna be diligent, I've got this early ski that not a lot of people have access to. Let's just be super thorough with this review. So I tested the skis at 2 clicks back on the binding, which I believe 2 clicks back is 1 centimeter, and then 1 click back, which is a 1/2 centimeter, and that entirely changed my opinion on these skis and how they ski. So I guess take that for what it's worth. I did find the perfect mounting point for me was 1 click back on the demo bindings, or the last time I did a tape measure, I believe it's about 1/2 centimeter back on from the recommended mounting point. And it completely changed how I felt about these skis. Once I got them properly mounted, it was a whole different ballgame. So here's my review with them mounted 0.5 centimeters back from recommended, or 1 click back on the demo bindings. Very springy on the cat track. That was kind of my first impression. It really was like ready to turn, ready to go. It also, being 1 click back, eliminated that speed limit. I was able to go super G, probably high GS to low super G speeds without any real issues. I could really send it on our full super G hill. I didn't get a lot of like chatter from the wind. It had a few things that I really liked about it. But my first impression was like, wow, okay, this is nice to see more skis coming after that short radius turn like a Meier Core, or now the Black Crowes Octo, which is new as well. It's nice to see DPS's version of it, and I was really happy with the carbon. The carbon did a phenomenal job with keeping these damp at high speeds, which is something that the Black Crowes Meier Core really struggled with. Now that we've talked first impressions though, like of this fun short radius ski, and again, when I mounted it back, it allowed me to have not only the short radius turns that were really fun in moguls, this ski 1 mounting point back, and you know, the rest of the view is just for 1 mounting point back. We're done talking about mounting points. The rest of the time was like, wow, this is fun in the trees. This is fun in little tiny amounts of powder. And man, you can really massage those nice, open, smooth turns. I had a blast. I felt like it was much more responsive than most modern all mountain skis. It was pretty tremendous and very cool to try. But now that we've talked about first impressions, let's talk about the good, and then we'll talk about the trade-offs and the downsides for a ski like this. So the first thing I really loved about the ski, I talked about this earlier, but it was springy. In and out of every turn, it's really giving you your energy. If you wanted like to ski a ski on the cat tracks, like, which seems silly, but this was the most fun of any ski, because on the cat tracks you don't have a lot of speed and energy, and this ski is probably the best I've seen for generating energy, for generating speed and buildup. So I would say if you're on a smaller mountain or you don't have a lot of terrain or steepness, this is just a ton of fun. The other thing I found, I'm not a big mogul skier, but like I said, I felt like it did really well in the moguls, really well in the trees and the little kind of quick turns. The big thing I find is that this really seems to be innovating from that Meier Core short radius type ski, in that this has a lot of the stability that people who like to make quick turns want. I didn't feel hardly any chatter. It felt very smooth. You could take it high speeds and not be worried about your safety. Whereas as much as I love the Meier Core, with those flat tops, the wind can really catch it. You didn't get that here. The other thing is like the turns feel so rewarding. It's not like an Elan ripstick where it's doing it for you, but it's more like if you can build up pressure, this ski will give you more energy back than any other ski. It's got like the best return on investment for energy into the ski and back out of the ski. I also found that just like with skiing in some areas that were busy for Christmas vacation, this ski was really, really nice because having short radius turns gives you a lot of options to get in and out of those areas. All in all, I think the ski is really fun, and it made me feel like a better skier than I kind of am. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, if I'm a little sloppy with my timing on getting energy back, this ski would give it to me. It'd be like, oh, well, we've got plenty of energy to choose from, so get your energy in, get your energy out. I also think that just like in general, the short radius skis are so nice for most people. If you're skiing with kids, you're skiing on an area like Vermont where it's a smaller mountain in parts of New Hampshire or Vermont. If you're skiing with family that's a little bit slower, or kids who are learning, you can have a lot of fun on the ski. And I like that a ski like this allows you to get good turns without having to go so fast that you're kind of risking your own bodily injury or for the skiers around you. So I don't know. All in all, I'm really excited about the ski. I think it is a really high-end premium ski. It turns really well. If you just care about turning and having fun and making playful little turns, I think the ski might be one of the better iterations of that. But as any ski, it makes sacrifices in doing so. So now we've talked about the good, let's talk about the downsides. There's a handful of downsides with this ski. And you know, I'm really excited to see where future iterations of the ski go, but any new ski, and any ski in general, is gonna come with a handful of drawbacks or things it sacrifice to get this kind of performance. So what did it sacrifice? Well, for one, the downside is, I mean, it could just be that I was on a shorter ski and that could be part of it. But I do think that this mounting point should be back. It's just such a big difference in performance. I talked about that enough, I won't bore you with more of it. The other downside is it's not extremely versatile, especially for a mountain like mine at Bogus Basin in Idaho, where you know, you might need to go through some crud to get to the fun groomers, or you might need to go through some kind of choppy stuff or deeper snow. It really doesn't blend things like you would with a typical like Atomic Maverick or whatever, you know, any of those all mountain skis. This is more of a specialized tool, which is fine, but you know, just know that. I wouldn't go into it buying the ski thinking this is gonna replace all my 88 millimeter, 93 millimeter with skis. This is a specialized tool specifically for carving. It can go in the trees and can go in the moguls fine, but you're not gonna get that flotation that you might be looking for, especially since DPS is kind of known for their powder skis. You know, versatility is not something I expect from any ski, and in fact, I criticize a lot of skis for trying to be overly versatile and not doing anything super well. But, you know, it is a drawback that it's pretty limited in its scope. The other elephant in the room we need to talk about is these are not cheap skis. It is a reality that these skis are made in America, they're made by hand, they're not made cheaply or in sweatshops, so the price is gonna go up. But I think it's something you need to address, that $2,000 for a 79 millimeter width underfoot ski is gonna be a hard pill for people as well. Now, some people, they may not care. They just want the best performance, they're willing to pay for it. But I think living in reality, $2,000 for these, and then if you're binding the recommended bindings, you're walking out the door at a little bit over $2,400. That's just a lot of money. I mean, it's almost half what I sold my last car for. And granted, you know, I'm cheap, I drive old cars, but I would rather see something well made that people are going to use for a long time. And I think if this is a ski you plan on keeping for 5 to 10 years, you can average that out versus like a cheap K2 Reckoner a friend of mine had that just exploded and they couldn't talk to anyone. I mean, these are made by real people, and I think that's something worth supporting. But, you know, the value for a $2,000 ski, the ski has to perform a lot. The other thing I found, when these are mounted at the recommended, I feel like I don't have a good connection with my feet to the snow. Like, it's hard to get a stable edge. I don't really feel that when they're mounted back. I do feel like I can carve the whole way through, but they're just, what's the right way to say this? They're not the kind of ski that gives you the most traction on your edges if you're out east. I think it does a much better job when it's mounted back, but for a $2,400 ski, I don't know, it's a little bit of a trade-off where like the edge grip in the center doesn't always feel like it's on rails as much, especially compared to something like an Octo, where the Octo is like really a firm platform, you're always on rails, and that allows when you need to like wash out a turn and re-grab a turn. I feel like the Octo does that a little bit better. But what the Octo can't do is go fast without a bunch of chatter or, you know, like the wind catching. I think if you're somebody who wants short radius turns and to go fast and to do big GS Super G turns, this is the only ski out there that does it this well. All things being fair, this definitely has a higher threshold for speed overall. The downside is that sometimes the center under the foot, especially when it's more center mounted, it's harder to get your edges in some of the steeper terrain. It's not undoable, and I think with some timing you get used to it, but it's worth pointing out overall. So overall, these have been really difficult to score. I think if you're somebody who likes short radius turns, who really savors a quick turn and just wants like the best performance for short radius turns and doesn't have a lot of runway to work with on the mountain, these are the best option. They remind me a lot of Zip Fit, where it's very expensive, but it does give you the overall best performance. The question for me always lies in, is it a good value? Like, is it giving you as much? And skis kind of hit the same thing that road bikes do, where you can put a ton of money into it and you start, like, as the bike gets lighter and lighter, you're spending exponentially more money to get a little bit more performance. And I think that these are right on the crest of that, where you start to go, okay, these are giving me 10% more performance, but they're costing me almost double of the ski's competitor. The other theory I have is that these are more center mounted in order to get that lower turn radius. And I think that that was maybe a mistake. Again, it could have just been that I'm on a shorter ski, but I think because they're competing with these other short radius skis, well, we can claim that these are 13.5 if we center mount them more. And I think that's a mistake. I would rather just pick the perfect mounting point, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's I'm tall, I'm big, and you know, it suits my ski style to have these mounted back one click. But man, it was a huge performance difference. To be honest, I really loved these skis. In a vacuum, just, you know, like talking about performance and everything, these are somewhere in between like an 8.3 and an 8.2. They're really phenomenal skis. But we don't live in a vacuum. You need to account for like what else is available out there and how much do these cost. And I think when you account for the price of these at $2,000, if I'm being totally fair, I think that brings their overall score to an 8. I like these a lot. I love seeing innovation in this field. I love that we are seeing more and more short radius skis competing with each other. And I think it was really smart, like from a business standpoint, right? Because DPS is known for their powder skis, and there is such an oversaturation of all mountain skis. When you look at like 88 millimeters width underfoot to 95 to 100 millimeters, there are so many people selling that ski. And even DPS, they sell like 90 versions of their Whaler and Kaizens, which I haven't skied and I can't give my opinions on. But instead of doing that, instead of saying we're gonna make a carving ski that's all mountain like everybody else does, they did something really cool and said, we're gonna make a short radius turn ski like the Black Crow's Mirror's Core, like the Octo, that is becoming really popular. And I think it really builds out a nice spot in the quiver, because if you have an all mountain ski that's 100 millimeters, or if you have a, you know, a powder ski, a bent 100 or whatever, these short radius skis really complement those other skis well, especially for maybe their fans that are buying powder skis. This really complements a powder ski or a mid-width all mountain ski. I like the ski a lot. I think it was smart that they went after that short radius turn ski. There's just a couple of things I would like to see changed in it. One, I think the mounting point needs to be assessed at the very least. Maybe it's just me, but it made a big difference in my performance. And two, I know 79 is like a width that they want to go for the short turn radiuses, but I honestly think it could use another like 6 millimeters width underfoot, just to help with how easy it is to get my edges to hold on steeper terrain. And I think for the average skier, that would be important to them too. So at 8 out of 10, I think that's a very generous and fair score. If money's no object, you know, you could read this more as like an 8.3, 8.4. But for those of you who want like my overall assessment on this, I think it's a solid 8. It needs to be mounted correctly. You need to like have it for those certain situations where it's moguls and carving and like the better the grooming is at your home mountain, the better these skis perform. When I got on parts where it was like, wasn't very skied off, it performed especially well. So I think if you're looking for a specialty ski that is a short radius turn without a speed limit, there's no ski that does it better than this DPS Carbon Pisteworks. But you got to factor in the value. You got to factor in whether or not it's a good ski for you. You also got to factor in that its range is a little bit less than something like, you know, your typical all mountain ski. But if you're looking for something special, if you're looking for what's the most pop and power I can get turn to turn, this ski does that. There's no denying it. It's a good ski. This has been one of the trickier reviews, but also I've enjoyed it because when you see changes in the ski industry, when you see innovation, this is what it looks like. So Anyway, this is my totally honest opinion. Like I said, DPS didn't pay me any money. They sent me skis. I gave my honest opinion. I'll put a link down below with affiliate links. The ski is in pre-order, so I'm not even sure if I'll have an affiliate link, but if I do, I'll put it down below. That's how I feel. This was a very challenging ski to review, but in a weird way, I really enjoyed the challenge. And I will say yet again, I'm so glad that I learned from Bodhi with working with the Peak skis to change the mounting point, and it really, really made a big difference on these skis. So anyway, that's the end of the video. If you like this kind of content, please consider liking and subscribing. That's a free way to support the channel. We also have channel memberships. We also have affiliate links down below. It doesn't cost you anything, and it does support the channel long term. But more than anything, I don't know, just thank you for watching my reviews. I'm so grateful that like you guys watch these videos so that companies like DPS are willing to send me new skis like this. And thank you to DPS for taking a shot on a small channel, you know, in my kid's jungle gym. I really appreciate you guys being willing to work with me and send me the skis. You know, I'm sure that any new ski, hearing critique on it isn't easy, but I think it speaks a lot to a brand when they're willing to send a new ski out to somebody who's really critical like me. These are always my opinions. You know, I'm not very popular sometimes because I'm honest, but that's the only way I know how to be. So thank you, DPS. I think you guys showed a lot of cojones sending these skis. I'm excited that you guys are pushing the industry towards more of these short radius skis. It's really cool to see. But more than anything, thanks for taking time out of your day to watch. It means a ton. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.